Because remember the past.
Can I touch it?
You want to touch it?
Are you going to say something sentimental first?
I was going to say something sentimental.
And then can I touch it?
Do you want to touch it first or do sentimental and then touch? It's kind of wet.
You have the smoothest inner skin.
Thank you.
Wow.
I was actually honored whenever they put it on. They got a razor out to shave, and I was like, "You think I have hair there?" And he was like, "You have a little bit." I was like, "Thank you."
My father has told me if I have a tattoo, that he will disown me. I think he's kidding. I hope he's kidding. I'm not planning on getting a tattoo unless like the Knicks win the NBA championship or something. Then I might celebrate the occasion.
Like put it on your back, full back tat. Is this a Jalen Brunson
of his face? You ever seen Waterboy?
Yes.
What Mama Don't Know.
Exactly. Hello and welcome to the Season 2 premiere of the Choir Guys podcast, brought to you by GIA Music Publishing and Walton Music. My name is Blake Richter.
And I am Danny Gutierrez.
Man, it feels like we never even left.
I was making up for the summer.
Yeah, that was
a little extra.
That was the role for
extra
the summer.
Trill.
It's been so sad walking down into my basement all summer long in this room. The mics are set up, the cameras are set up, the lights are set up, just collecting dust.
No choir guys.
No choir guys. However,
we're hibernating.
We're back. And what are we going to talk about today?
I'm very happy you asked this, Blake. Sorry for saying your name like that. Blake. We know what that's from.
Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about the start of the school year, how to get it cracking, how to get it started. It's always one of those things. First off, it's the trauma of summer ending and having to deal with it, and and that last week comes around, which is where we're at right now, and then we just cherish every moment of freedom that we have. But at the same time, in the back of our brain, we're getting ready to go on some sort of crazy situation.
Yeah.
So it's in the back of your head. So we're going to talk about it today and we're going to give you some ideas of what we do, and maybe you can use some of that for your classroom too.
Yep. So stay tuned. Now it's time for our first segment, Hack Yeah.
Hack Yeah.
Hack Yeah.
Heck yeah.
We actually did say it a few times this summer just because we missed it.
Yeah.
We missed saying
it's
hack
catchy.
Yeah. So what is your hack, Mr. G?
Well, thank you for asking. So I don't know if this is necessarily a hack. I think it could be, but it's something that either way, I'm going to be forced to do it.
I think it's a hack.
But I think it could be an effective hack. So in my school district, they have determined that cell phones are a no-go in school. So in every single classroom, we now have a what would you call it? A
bin?
Like a compartment thing.
Is it like the elementary?
Pouch. It's like a phone pouch. It's this thing, and it has a bunch of different pouches.
Where you would put like different cards and stuff in elementary, like red card, green card?
Exactly,
Nice.
exactly. So they're going to have a lot of pouches for my class, but every class will have that. And the expectation is this: before a student comes into the classroom, they are required to take their phone, put it in a pouch, and it stays there for the duration of the class.
It's beautiful.
So I think we can all agree that cell phones are, while very useful, are super annoying. And I've heard of all sorts of excuses for why students are on cell phones. I'm sure you've heard it too. All of a sudden, but I was texting my mom.
It's like, that's fine. Ask me first and I'll let you text
Did they say that to you too? I was texting my mom.
Yeah, like it's an emergency. I'm like, then ask me first. And then we're allowed, since they're not supposed to have phones at all at our school. We don't even have the pouches or anything. We're allowed to take the phone and take it down to the office.
Yeah, I guess we are too, like technically, but it's getting that implementation across the board is tricky. Now it's mandated. Every student will have to put it in the pouch before they begin. I'm super excited about it. What a great way to keep kids in the moment. I know even for myself, like when my cell phone dies, I just feel like I'm released for a second. Like, I can just be free and have normal interactions and really focus in the moment. And I think that will hopefully do it. So that's the hack. Pouches at the front door, and if administration will agree with it, have them put it in the pouch.
Okay, so my hack is very simple, and it's inspired by Jerry Scott. So Jerry Scott, who is a legend in the Southwest Missouri region. He always would teach young teachers, he'd say, start singing day one. They're getting syllabi in every other class. They're just sitting, they're learning all these procedures. When they come to your class, you want them to be engaged. You want them to get to actually do something on the first day of school. And so,
and sets the expectation. Like, you come in here, this is what we do. We sing.
Yeah. And so, like, setting that from day one is exciting. And also, like, they're probably going to go home that day and tell their parents, my favorite class today was choir, because you got to do something. So that is just a simple hack. But learn a quick warm-up. Do a fun group game. Like, do something. You can do the syllabus stuff later. You've got all year to do that. And they're getting it in every other class, so the parents are probably going to be like proud of you for not handing it out the first day, because then they're not going to have an extra syllabus to worry about. Or you can even send it out in an email the week before school, so yours is getting to them sooner rather than later, and then you can just start day one. Their parents at least possibly know what's going on because they've possibly read their email, or you can at least say, I've already sent this out. But start singing day one, do a group game day one, do a little bit of both. Like, get them used to those classroom expectations by teaching them posture, by teaching them some of your go-to warm-ups or vocalises. Like, do that day one. You will not regret it. The only time I didn't do it the first day was 2020. That was the one time I didn't do it the first day.
It was awkward to do anything that day.
We did it day two, which it was very uncomfortable because everybody's like, is it safe to sing? And we were super spread out in the auditorium.
Oof.
And it was fine.
Getting PTSD.
Yeah, it was just terrible. But that was the one time I did not sing the first day. But other than that, I have sang the first day every single year, and the kids love it. They do one of their favorite warm-ups first, and yeah, it's a good time.
Nice.
Now it's time to shout out our sponsor, GIA Publications and Walton Music. GIA Publications is a family-owned company with over 10,000 choral and instrumental editions in print and a wide variety of music education resources.
Walton Music, one of the catalogs in the GIA family, is one of the world's leading choral music publishers, with a catalog spanning over 6 decades and music from across the globe. Walton editions are performed by choirs worldwide.
That's right. You can find Walton choral editions at waltonmusic.com and music education resources and books at giamusic.com.
Thanks again to GIA Publications and Walton Music for sponsoring today's episode.
I've missed reading ads with you. Your voice completely changes when we do ad reads.
I just feel like it's the right thing to do. I feel like it's like a 1920s vibe. Oh, we're seeing at the Boys and Backstreet. Gonna talk about this right now. I don't know. It's kind of cool. And it's fun to use resonance in different sorts of ways.
Wow.
You ever try, okay, this is random. Professional opera singers. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who's legit elite professional opera singer?
No.
Okay. So it's something I do. I don't really do that. I only know one, like.
You have called Michael Spires in the middle of class before.
I know one elite professional opera singer, like, personally, and I know of a few, quite a few, because I'm an opera freak, but I listen to a lot of interviews, and it's interesting when they talk with this, yes, I was singing at Covent Garden last week, and it was a very good experience, and they're always talking in this placement, and I think there's actually something to say about that. It would be interesting to implement that with students. I don't
have them start talking like that in all their classes.
Well, we do that. I mean, we do that as an activity sometimes, but I'm just thinking, what if we just made that the rule? Like, all right, you want to say dumb stuff, you want to talk, that's fine. You just have to use this high placement of voice. They would probably sound pretty good. And if you think about it, let's say that's the only way I talked in life, then I would really be working that mechanism nonstop. And then when you go to singing, it's not too difficult. Would it be weird for you if I talk like this consistently?
I would tell you that you can't teach with me ever.
How do you think they would respond specifically? Like, let's say first day.
They would drop out of our class.
Hey kid, hey, put down that book. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's talk about things. Here we go, kids. Let's do the solfege stuff.
No, I'm out. I'm so out.
Okay, whatever. Now it's time for choir news.
That was so resonant and
Thank
beautiful.
you. Your comment before got to my head. Thank you.
I can tell. So we are sporting some beautiful summer attire right here. And one of the reasons why I'm wearing this shirt is because it was announced over the summer that
Is that really why you're wearing that shirt?
No, I put it on from my closet.
I was about to say,
it's from Walmart. It's from Walmart. Walmart has some decent things now, and as teachers, we don't make crap, and so
that's true. And why am I sporting this shirt then?
Just because I
feel flowery.
You had the summer vibe going.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that it's because Southwest ACDA is officially going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
It's Breaking Bad.
Woo! It's going to be...
Do you understand that?
I mean, I have not watched this. I've seen one episode of Breaking Bad, but I know
it's maybe the greatest show I've ever seen. It's dark. It puts you to it. I mean, and it's also about a teacher who sells crystal meth.
Well, I know, and I am a teacher, and I do live in the crystal meth capital of the world. So I feel like it hits too close to home. Not that I've ever tried or sold crystal meth.
It's a brilliant show. But anyway, sorry, we got sidetracked. Tell us about...
Speaking of crystal meth.
Oh my!
I did watch Pitch Perfect the other day, and Fat Amy has
what?
She's like, well, the guy's like, hey, you wanna go make out? And she's like, sometimes I think I should try crystal meth, and then I think, better not.
Yeah, that's
the best.
Pretty relevant. Good job turning that around.
You're welcome. So enough about crystal meth.
In New Mexico,
SWACTA is in New Mexico.
How do you feel about that?
It's far.
That's my concern.
I'm glad that because when we were at SWACTA in Denver. Mm-hmm. I don't think I met a single person from New Mexico. So I think the reason that Jonathan Owen and the team are wanting to take it there is to kind of get them to want to go and maybe get them more involved in SWACTA, which is lovely.
My concern is the ticket prices. Did you look at the ticket prices yet?
No, I have not.
It's a lot. I mean, from our area.
It's just going to be expensive. It's going to be far. And we'll try to send kids to the honor choir again, and we might have less kids that want to go because it's so expensive. So we'll see, but it's exciting that it'll be
something
in a new
different.
place.
I've never been to New Mexico. Have you?
I've just driven through it. And then over the summer, we had our MCDA conference, which was a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of people.
That's my favorite. I would say it's definitely my favorite conference of the year. It's just different, right? So in National ACDA, there's a lot of networking and a lot of amazing choirs that are there, a lot of great sessions. It's a lot of networking. It takes a lot of energy to get to that point. MMEA is good because there's a lot of good conferences and we enjoy it quite a bit.
You get to hear incredible choirs.
Yes, and it's so you're working with the band people. MCDA just has a special vibe about it. If you have not attended your state ACDA conference, I would highly recommend doing it. I just know the people that I love the most in the planet are at MCDA. Yeah. And it's true. You're there. It's a really beautiful experience.
And that's all that matters.
Yes. The level of connection that you have with other people. And of course, the sessions are wonderful. But my favorite part is just, like random conversations in the lobby.
At 2 a.m. sometimes.
Yep. And that happens too, or just like dinners. You can just have random people. So this is something really cool at MCDA. This kid, shout out to Josh from Arkansas. Mm-hmm. He was just looking, did you meet him?
Yeah.
He was just looking up stuff and he was like, I guess he got an email about MCDA and he just came. He's 19 years old. Yeah. This kid is 19 years old. He just came to, I'm sorry?
I think he's at U of A.
Yeah. He's with Jeffrey and Steven and all those guys. And he just came. And I'm thinking, as a 19-year-old, I would crumble and die. There is no possible way. I don't have that courage, but he did, and I think he loved it. And he's planning on coming back next year and bringing friends. So
I didn't go to MCDA until I was 23, I think. I waited until after my first year teaching, which I wish I would have done it earlier. But I wasn't planning on becoming a music educator.
Right.
We were both going to be pastors.
So you presented as well.
Yeah, with my co-teacher, Lauren. And we both, afterwards, we didn't really prepare it that much just because we were both on summer, vacation vibes. But we did come together the day before and kind of practice it a little bit. It was both of our favorite presentations to give. I think it's just different to give a presentation with somebody else. The pressure is a little bit less because it's not just you. You've got somebody else to bounce off of. Also, we co-teach together all the time, so it's we're used to the chemistry there.
Yeah. So it's engaging, right?
Yeah, it's
fun. Like doing our podcast with just me going, Let's talk about resonance now.
It's time for choir news. No one would listen.
Yeah, true.
Back on July 1st, Daniel Gutierrez got an email from the National American Choral Directors Association that his top group, his top ensemble at his school, was selected to perform at the Dallas conference in March, which is super exciting.
Mm-hmm. Remember how stressful it was? Right.
Yes.
Remember the episode? So this morning, I came in and, Blake and I teach together in the morning. And he goes, "Hey, Danny, so you know about the deadline coming up, right? I assume you know." And I'm like, "What deadline?" You're like, "The National ACDA deadline." And I assumed that it was mid-May because it's normally mid-May. I've never known it not to be in mid-May, but maybe I'm confused. Anyway, so he said that to me and I went, "Whoa, hold on a second.
That's next Wednesday."
That's next Wednesday. And this is how it goes with those recordings. You submit stuff. You don't know if you'll get accepted or not, but you just have to prepare accordingly. So maybe the first point we'll talk about is know the date of the application submission deadline. That's kind of important. There was a lot of stress leading up into that point.
But he got his
and you saved
recordings
the
in.
day, because if you didn't say anything, that would have not have happened.
So congratulations. That's super exciting. And is it over spring break?
Yeah, it's over our spring break, so it'll be fun, and Blake will be there. He'll be accompanying us by banging drums, and it'll be cool, and hopefully we'll have some students involved in the honor choir as well. And I'm just excited. So in 2017, when I worked in middle school, my middle school choir that I was working at, they made National ACDA, and when I left there, there was definitely the thought that this may never happen again, because it's so complicated in getting selected, especially as a high school ensemble, which is probably the most populated of the ensembles that submit. And I just took it for what it was and said, if that ever happened again, that would be an amazing thing. And somehow it happened. So I feel pretty grateful, and I'm excited that we get to experience this type of conference for the community, for the students. And also it's a culmination of the work that we've done in our program. So this senior class are the ones that started with you.
Yeah, their 8th grade year, I had them.
8th grade year you had them. That's right. So 7th grade.
7th grade was a crapshoot anyway with COVID happening.
Yeah, true. That was a weird year. So I mean, this is really cool to see this come around, and I know a lot of the students are near and dear to your heart. Even one of those students was helping you move some stuff the other day.
Yeah, my in-laws are moving out. And he wanted to come help, and his brother came too. And then another one of your top ensemble kids also was there.
Yeah, so it's a cool community, kids. And it's cool just seeing that. And I think it says a lot about just vertical alignment and being conscious of the big picture and having a team going. Without vertical alignment, obviously this is not possible. So I just feel fortunate. I feel very fortunate through this situation, we have gotten an ensemble to that point, and I'm excited for that to happen, and hopefully more to come in the future.
No offense, but what I'm most excited about for Dallas is going to see Luca and Kyrie play. It's got to happen. It's got to happen at some point.
Kyrie can sing. Do you know this? There's videos.
I don't know if I knew that.
He's a legit good singer.
Does he have his moccasins on when he sings?
He wears moccasins?
You don't know about his little tassels that he wears around his ankles?
I didn't know that.
Looks like he wears moccasins while he's playing.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. But
I didn't know if he shook his moccasins while he was singing.
No, I think it's like normally him in a bathroom singing with Iman Shumpert and some other people, but they actually have legit voices, though.
Sweet. Not only is Danny Gutierrez going to the National ACDA conference, but also his contemporary a cappella group was accepted to the state MMEA conference, which you guys are the first contemporary a cappella group that has ever been accepted to the
first
state
pop a cappella contemporary group. Yeah,
that's so
I'm
awesome.
Super excited about it. And not only is my ensemble going, but also you have an ensemble going as well.
Wow.
Which is
and
really
then
exciting.
we have an elementary group that's going as well.
Which is
so
awesome.
This is the second time in the past 2 years that the same 3 teachers, actually the same 3 schools, we've had groups go. And I know last time a lot of people just thought it was really cool to see the progression because the elementary group started in the morning, and there was another choir, and then my middle school group went next, and then there was another choir, and then the high school group went
Yeah,
after that.
it's awesome.
So it's just cool to see that progression
Really
and see
cool.
how important vertical alignment is.
Yeah.
And so I'm super pumped for that. It's
Yeah,
my
it's
tenor
gonna be-
bass group, so I've never taken the boys there before, but
Yeah,
it's gonna be super
going to
fun.
be exciting. So I am fortunate enough that I get to participate in that choir, not as a conductor, but as a because I co-teach that class with Blake in the morning, and
It's gonna be like a cheat code.
Yeah,
because
well-
like you're not allowed to conduct it, but you're gonna help prepare.
and honestly, that's really what I'm really excited about. I'm excited about working with students, helping align their voices, making sure that everyone is just like the best technical version of themselves they can be, and yeah, so it's going to be exciting.
What are two cool things that you did this summer?
So I was a co-director of a contemporary a cappella camp this summer, youth course at Kansas City. It was awesome. We had so much fun. Also,
This is the first time that thing happened, right?
yes, and also I want to give a shout out to Youth Course Kansas City. They're starting a contemporary a cappella group. So
Yeah.
if you are in the Kansas City area, check out Youth Course Kansas City and check it out because I think it could be an amazing opportunity because I think that's where that offers something that's not necessarily readily available in schools, right? So a lot of schools don't have a contemporary pop a cappella group, and this is something interesting. Like even if you're from an amazing choir program, you have the opportunity to be part of a contemporary pop a cappella group that's going to be great. So please check out Youth Course Kansas City. Email them. Email Ryan Main, who's a director of them. So yeah, that was super fun, and we did some cool things. One of the songs that we did was Uptown Funk.
Ooh.
Well, yes, but there was a problem with it because a lot of the words are just
Hot darn.
yeah, hot that stuff, or like take the cup, put some liquor in it, or something like that, or Uptown Funk you up. And we did the camp at a preschool. So one of the things was they asked, like, we talked to them about doing a performance for them, the preschoolers. And we're like, oh shoot, we need to change the words to the song. So we made a Kids Bop version of it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, fill my cup, put some Pepsi in it. And then once we did that, we saw like the teachers, they were like, oh, thank God. They were getting nervous about it. And then instead of saying Uptown Funk you up, we said preschool, pump it up. Preschool, pump it up. Super into it. Yeah. So that's just one thing, but I think that's a good thing. How about you? Tell me.
I mean, I put it in a basketball court in my backyard, which was super fun, and I know we've played a couple times, and it's a good way to get some exercise, which I'm looking forward to. And like I'm an extrovert, but like my wife is an introvert, and since I've been married to her for 8 years now, like I've become a little bit more introverted. I don't like to leave the house as much, so that's why we filmed this at my house. I guess I'm selfish. I just want to stay here. And like I have my own exercise room, so I don't have to go to the gym. I've got a pool, so I don't have to go to like the rec center or anything. And now, I've got my basketball court, so I feel like I'm set up.
And you can just, if it's like a zombie apocalypse, you stay at home.
Yeah, I'm good.
Do your stuff.
And then I got tatted up this summer. I got some
Oh,
tattoos.
he did. That was weird when I saw that. I saw that MCDA, I think, for the first time.
This is my anniversary in Roman numerals. And then my grandma wrote me like this letter whenever I got my doctorate. It says, remember the past.
Can I touch it?
You wanna
I'm
touch
sorry.
it?
Are you going to say something sentimental first?
I was going to say something sentimental.
Then can I touch
Do you
it?
want to touch it first or
Yeah.
do sentimental and then
Let me
touch?
just-
It's kind of wet.
You have the smoothest inner skin.
Thank you.
Wow.
I was actually honored whenever they put it on. They got a razor out to shave, and I was like, "You think I have hair there?" And he was like, "You have a little bit." I was like, "Thank you."
It is super smooth. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't.
it's still
This
very
doesn't
smooth.
even looking at it doesn't serve it justice. It is like a
very
baby's leg.
But remember the past, live in the present, and look forward to the future. And my grandma passed away last summer, so I found that card back in like January, and I was like, I will get a tattoo. Well, growing up, I was very against tattoos, and now it's like, who cares? I have plans for other ones too.
My father has told me if I have a tattoo, that he will disown me. I think he's kidding. I hope he's kidding. I'm not planning on getting a tattoo unless like the Knicks win the NBA championship or something. Then I might celebrate the occasion.
Like put it on your back, full back tat. Is this a Jalen Brunson
of his face? You ever seen Waterboy?
Yes.
What Mama don't know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So whenever I showed my parents, my dad was like, "I'm planning on getting one too, like right here that says bad mofo." I was like,
no,
Dad, no, you can't.
Yeah. That'd be awesome if you did. You do look tougher. Like I'm just saying objectively, like if I saw you just walking around, I'd be like, "Oh shoot, I don't want to mess with them."
Well, it's to intimidate people on my new basketball court.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's been slightly ineffective lately, but that's for another time.
Yeah. All right, so for the main portion of our episode, now we're going to talk about the beginning of the school year. It's on everyone's mind.
All the trauma.
It's crazy.
All the nightmares that you have before the school year starts, and then it ends up being great.
So what I love about the summer is I love just the freedom, right? So it gives me freedom to do what I want to do. Like I've been eating well this summer. I've been exercising more.
He paces.
I pace. Yeah, I walk everywhere. I'm always
25,000 steps yesterday.
Oh, yes. I'm telling you, when we get back in the school year and I'm with the first hour boys, they're going to see me just walking everywhere, like randomly.
It
like,
stresses me out because like when we play basketball together, you just start pacing and I think it's just like nervous energy.
I'm trying to get my steps in.
I'm trying to get steps
trying
in.
to pick it up. Trying to pick it up. So it's beautiful, but I like the school year. It gives me structure. And I like that concept, but it's hard to get into sometimes, right? It's just hard to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, I feel like it's good to have certain goals for the year, have a set mindset for what you're wanting to accomplish for the year, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So we both have, 3 different goals, just kind of like one-word goals or just one-line goals, and then we're going to kind of go into, that's the what, and then we'll go into the why of why we've chosen those as goals, and then we're going to dive deep into the how we're going to achieve those goals. So do you want to start with your first goal?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first goal is kind of an obvious one, but I don't know if it is obvious. It's excellence. At the end of the day, we are trying to be excellent at what we do. Singing is fun when you do it really, really, really well. So that I want that to be the go-to, the default is excellence in singing, and I want that excellence to permeate every person, every choir in the program.
So my first goal is consistency. So whenever students come into our classroom, my co-teacher and I, we want them to know exactly what's going to happen during the day. Now, not every single class period is going to be the same. It's middle school. You never know what's going to happen. But if you set up a structure to where they walk in, they know that they are in their seat before the bell rings. They know that we're going to start warming up right away. Like it's important, I'll go into it more later, but it's important to remain consistent so that way students know what's happening. They know what to expect for your class. And that just sets you up for success and excellence.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm actually going to jump ahead on my list a bit to connect to what you're saying. So another one is standards. To make sure the standards are sky high, and that does also connect to excellence, of course, but I think it also plays into consistency, hard word.
Really hard, wow.
So what is the standard for what you want to see in the classroom? So there's a difference between coming into the classroom and the nuance of coming into a classroom. I've seen students come into a classroom in the most disturbing fashion possible.
Sprinting in, doing a somersault. Running into a few chairs, knocking over people.
So many ways that can go bad. So how do I want that to look like? What do I want their standards to be for the simple stuff in the classroom? And also even the musical stuff. What do I want their standards to be? How do we build that mentality that it can be better? It can be better.
My next one is going to be student leadership. That's something that my co-teacher Lauren and I have talked a lot about. Even at the middle school level, like we might not have a president, vice president, all that kind of stuff, but there are jobs that middle school students can do to save us time and to keep the class running so that way we can continue to strive for excellence and continue that consistency in the classroom.
Okay, so my last one is vulnerability. So in this year, there's a lot of performing that's going to happen. I know that when I watch a performance and I feel like it is real and people are communicating directly with me, their souls, and just put it out there, That's the most moving thing that I could ever see. So I want our students to be vulnerable so they can communicate at a high level.
Yeah. My next one is community, and that's both creating tight-knit communities within each ensemble, creating a tight-knit community within the whole 330 kid choir program, and then also going out into the community and serving others in the community to teach our kids at a middle school, young age level that it's so important to give back and to serve others. So now, how are we going to achieve all these different goals? Danny, you start.
All right, so my first goal is, like, as I talked about, was excellence. So how do we make an environment that's excellent? How do we make this happen in the classroom? So a few different ideas. One that I feel like is something I'm going to really try to implement this year is different forms of assessment. Sight Reading Factory, they have something cool. Did you hear about what the adjustment made in Sight Reading Factory? They have an amazing auto grading interface.
Maybe I did hear about that.
So that's big. And I've tried it, and it's extremely humbling. There's different levels that you can do. There's like super strict, somewhat strict. I did on level 1, and it was like 91. I got a 91 out of 100, and I'm like, what? This is just moving stepwise, because they grade you on every crevice of accuracy you can think of. If something is not spot on, it can grade you off, but I can make it looser, so it just kind of identifies if you're getting the notes right rather than the intonation being pitch perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer, because it saves me so much time. Even though I really enjoy grading, for some reason I enjoy audio grading, but it's going to save me time. I can make an assignment, and it'll give them the feedback, and also it perpetuates that. They can go home, they can keep getting feedback over and over. What's frustrating for a lot of people with sight reading is that you do something and you don't know if you're getting it right or wrong. So you're like, I don't know, we'll see what happens. This ensures that you know if you're getting it right or wrong, because you're going to get that feedback immediately.
And can you try it multiple times?
Yes, you can. And that's a game changer. And also, you can play it back. You can listen to the actual notes versus the notes that you sang. So I think that assessment piece, I love it. The other thing that I'm going to do differently this year with a couple of my choirs is I'm going to use something called Soundtrap. You might have heard of it. JD brought it up a few episodes ago, as a way to assess students and give them feedback on what they're doing. So for instance, I'm going to create assignments that they're going to sing probably with a muted track. They're going to be the voice with that muted track. And then instead of just like giving them a grade and giving them some comments, I'm going to actively, and this is compatible with Canvas, which is awesome, I'm going to actively give them an audio feedback real time on their singing. So as they're singing, I'm going to say something like, be careful with the intonation there, because it's a little bit out of tune. I think it's because you're using too much of the lower mechanism there. Listen, 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 listen. I love the way you approach that. I think that was really effective. I like your diction. The initial consonant brought something out. So giving them that active feedback, I think it's going to be imperative. And also, I'm going to force them to listen to it.
Yeah.
So I'm not just going to say, oh, yeah, I give you feedback, because you know how it is. You don't want to listen to yourself sing. So you're going to brush it off. Oh, yeah, I listened to it. Everything was fine. We're going to, after the assessment happens the next day, I'm going to say, all right, kids, take out your Chromebooks. Time to listen to it. So that's doubling that down on that critical thinking process they're going to develop through this and the assessment portion. So that's a big thing. The other part is just utilizing small groups effectively. I'm going to try, and now we know in our school district we're extremely blessed by having teams of people.
Yeah.
And I understand that's not the case in a lot of other situations, but I think that also comes down to even the leadership component you were talking about. If you can break things down, make things a little bit smaller, then people can get better, I think, just a little bit faster. So that's how I'm going to tackle the excellence part of this year.
And the Soundtrap thing, whenever I hear that, I think, gosh, that's overwhelming to do. You're only going to do that with like 2 choirs this year.
This year I'm doing it with 2 choirs, but also
the one that's going to National ACDA and the one that's going to MMA.
Yeah, but I also want to reemphasize the thing about me is how much I enjoy.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
It is like recreational activity for me to listen to singers and give them feedback, because I'm a nerd like that. But I'm proud of being a nerd.
But other people who want to set boundaries.
Yes.
Which you do you're so much better about setting boundaries than like when you were in your middle school days and you were like obsessing over everything. You're so much better about it.
Thank you.
But like I don't like to take any work
process.
home.
No, I understand.
So like if I was able to get it all done during my plan time, that'd be great, but I don't think I would be. So just know, maybe start small with that. Try it with one ensemble that's really struggling, or one ensemble that you want to excel even more.
Yeah, doing that for like 300 people would definitely be overwhelming.
I would never do that.
But it would have to be layered. Like one semester, one quarter you do it for 2 choirs, another quarter you do it for another choirs, not like an every week occasion.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. So for consistency, some of the hows that we're gonna do. Class starts right when the bell rings. So I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I'm gonna have hopefully students, or either that, or whoever, one of our co-teachers, whoever's not doing warm-ups, whoever's not doing vocalises, and whoever's not starting class, that other person's taking role, so that way we don't have to worry about that at all. And so class will start right when the bell rings, right when they walk in, and they're tardy if they are not in their seats ready to go, and be consistent on that consistency. And then my co-teacher has used S Cubed, Dale Duncan, in the past, and so we're going to use Sight Reading Factory, but we're going to kind of use a little bit of S Cube curriculum for especially our non-audition ensembles to get them used to sight reading. So also the pacing of that is going to be super consistent, and we're going to have consistent curriculum in there. We're not just going to like jump into different things that they're not ready for, which sometimes I'm guilty of doing. I think that they can, go to a level 2 when they're not ready for a level 2. This curriculum will make the pace very consistent. And then setting expectations for sectionals. Sometimes whenever we're about to go into sectionals, I give so much instruction of like what they're going to do. Like set it as a standard from the beginning, and then it's going to be consistent every time you say, okay, we're going into sectionals, basses are here, tenors are here, sopranos are here, altos are here, go.
Even like something along those lines, even as weird as it is, chain of command. What I hear a lot from sectionals sometimes is someone will come up to me, random name, Johnny. Johnny was just kept talking, and he was trying to give instruction to the group, but he's not even a section leader. And he keeps talking about, you need to do that, you need to do this. And the section leader, they didn't feel like they could get done with anything because they kept getting interrupted. Even understanding like the protocol behind that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then something that I didn't do very consistently last year that I want to do consistently this year is like have a process for whenever you pass out music. So are we going to jump right into it, or are we going to like really understand the score? Especially middle schoolers, we sometimes have to map out the octavo. Something that Lauren, my co-teacher, has always done is have them number the measures first, have them star their part. Again, especially middle school when it's sometimes their first time or they're still early on in seeing these octavos. Get them used to that. So right when you pass out a piece of music, they know what to do. They're going to start numbering the measures. They're going to start starring their part. So having those things consistent will set you up for success.
So going back to the second point here, standards. So something I thought was cool, I don't know, I think Adrian might have mentioned it last season on his episode.
That's what I love about our podcast. We're just stealing things from everyone that comes on. And now we're implementing it this year.
Yeah, I know. So he talked about, I don't know if he talked about it in the episode. He might have just talked to me about it at some point. Talked about what he does in the beginning of the school year. He has like kind of like an Adrian Kirtley camp.
Yeah.
And like being able to recognize all of his gestures, like the vibrato gestures and all. Did he say that in the episode?
Yeah.
He did. Okay. So in the same way, so in regard to standards, I want to make sure, so first we'll talk about kind of standards as it pertains to excellence. I want to make sure that my students understand I hate using my name in the third person, but the Danny Gutierrez way of listening to and reflecting on music. And I want them to learn my standards because that's what I'm expecting of them.
Well, yeah, and it's just going to be way easier for you and way easier for them later. It's not like a cocky thing to do.
Yeah. I just want us to be on the same page. Yeah. And there's certain ensembles that we're going to study, and that I identify with, and that I think they can maybe emulate some of these sounds, and it would be healthy for them to do so. In the same sense, full disclosure, we listen to choirs that are not great, and we frequently do it actually. And I make sure the students know it's not to make fun of these choirs, but we listen to it to understand what we don't want to happen. A lot of choirs fall under the same programs, the same types of sounds. So I seek out recordings of choir. I have like YouTube playlists of choirs that are good, but choirs that I don't really want my choir to sound like? And we listen to those and talk about those standards. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. So understanding those musical standards are very important. So we'll start that in the beginning of the year. Here are the choirs that I want you to really take notice of for good reasons and for bad reasons, for reasons that don't apply to us. Apart from that, it's, how things should be done. To what extent should it be done? How are the kids going to stand up? How are they going to hold their music? How are they going to go through their music? How do I want them to turn a page? When do I want them to take their pencils out? How do I want them to literally, physically pass out a sheet of music? Like, what does that look like? How should that go? And I think those little things, I think kids pick up on those details, and then they can take those details and apply it to other things. So really considering what we want that to look like. When does class begin? Does class begin when the bell rings? Does class begin when the bell rings and then there is this unsaid 60 seconds of additional transition time that happens? When do we want students in the classroom? If they come in right as the bell rings, is that acceptable for you, or is that not acceptable because you want them to be ready when the bell rings? Considering all of those standards and then making it known to them, literally writing it down, saying, this is what we do. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that all goes back to excellence. If you set up all those things, you have those standards, you have that consistency, everything's going to go to excellence.
Absolutely.
So as far as student leadership positions and, really implementing student leadership, we're going to have students take role. I even just thought about this whenever you were talking about students being tardy. Our school policy is that if students aren't in their seat, they are tardy, and they do get consequences for, I think, if they get 4 or more tardies, there are consequences. 4 or more in a week. So there are consequences there. I've thought about, maybe a new position is the tardy police. They stand at the door. They're not going to be tardy. Maybe that's somebody that has class really close to the choir room. They're going to stand there, and they're going to, so that way we don't have to see who's all tardy. They just write down the names of the people that are tardy. Pick a good person that's not going to make fun of people for being tardy or not be a jerk about it, but pick somebody that is highly respected in the classroom and is super sweet and can also have a little bit of thick skin. But we have different leadership positions that we already have implemented in our classroom. Last year when Lauren was hired on, we just kind of sat down, and after the first few weeks of school, we were like, what are some things that are really taking away class time that we're having to do that kids could easily do? And some of that was turning on and off the lights. So we created this position that was Lord of the Lights, and they not only turn off the lights whenever we need to show something on the screen or whatever. We have these LED lights around the bulletin boards. They change the color to the color choir that is coming in. So each choir,
I love that. That is so cool.
Each choir has a different color on their t-shirts, and each choir just has a different color that represents them. And so they change it every single class period. And if you do not change it, they will fight. They will fight us. And so if Lord of the Lights are gone, we have the night light. Like night, like they are the night of the light instead of K-N-I-G-H-T.
Not the night light as in the night.
Correct. The night light or the night of the lights that will then take it over. If they're both gone, we're screwed. We have the bouncer. It also was taking a bunch of time to have us even simply open the door because we have the door locked at all times for safety. Just having to run over there and open the door, that was annoying. So think of different things like that. We've talked about our yoga whippy points. You only get out what you put in, putting points on the board. We used to do that up until last year, and now we have a point guard. Basketball. We have a point guard that goes up there and gives out points. Sometimes they are sitting by the board the whole class period because we're giving out so many points. Sometimes they're just going back and forth, but most of the time we just have them sit there, and they're still very engaged in class. You got to pick somebody that's still going to be singing over there, that's going to be good at math, and that's going to be responsible. We have the dirt defense team because our room gets dirty with 300 kids coming through every single day. We show off the hand vacuum and how incredible it can be, and how therapeutic it is to suck up some dust bunnies. And we have the claw, that you see people picking up trash on the side of the roads, on the side of the road. We have a claw that it's very fun to pick up trash. So we make cleaning the room a fun
how
thing.
engaging is, I'm just thinking as you're talking about all this stuff, how engaging and how practical is that, right? So you're just taking simple things to do, putting labels on it, and all of a sudden
It's got to be fun labels.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just take simple things to do, putting labels on it, fun labels, and all of a sudden it's cool. And you're also taking care of your class. Easy.
Another one that was really annoying was kids were always bleeding. Like they'd have a scab that they would pick.
Clarity.
And it's just like,
Okay.
gross.
Scabs
Yeah.
picking.
They were
picking
always
scabs.
bleeding. No, yeah, in my class it's a bloodbath every day. No, they were always just like picking at scabs or whatever, middle school things, and they just needed Band-Aids all the time, and so. We came up, and also cough drops. We came up with a position called the Surgeon General. And so that Surgeon General, anytime somebody needs a cough drop or they need a Band-Aid, they know where it's at. It also applies to our microphones because we use microphones to teach. If our batteries die, well, we need the Surgeon General to revive the dead microphone. So they get batteries for us as well. And then the last one that I'll talk about is we have the class receptionist. So anytime the phone rings, the phone is like in our office and it's super far away, and having to go in there completely stops class. So now we have
But you audition for it, right?
yeah, I'm going to talk about that too. We have auditions for this receptionist where like they have to go into the office and they have to answer the phone, hello, choir room, this is blah, blah, blah speaking. How can I help you? Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So like we would audition them I would get on my cell phone. I would put it on the Bluetooth speakers in the room, and I would call the choir phone, and they would have to answer, and everyone would hear them and hear how they responded. And I, kind of coached them through it at first, but that's how they auditioned to get the part, which was very fun because then I'd be like, I'd like to order a Big Mac. And they'd be like so sweet because they really, really wanted the job. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong number. I'd be like, no, I'm pretty positive I have the correct number. And so you just kind of play with them to see how they respond. So just think of like really annoying tasks that you have to do that you actually don't have to do. Mm-hmm. So think of that at the beginning of the year,
label
and then
it in clever ways.
Yeah, and then figure out. And I have to give credit to Lauren Bowman. She labeled most of those. She's just so punny all the time, and she came up with most of those labels. But think of those things that are annoying, and then get to know your kids at the beginning of the year and figure out who's going to be good for those different jobs. And then they do apply for the jobs, and then you just go through that list and kind of pick out who you want.
Last point for me is vulnerability. I want to see vulnerability in my classroom, and I want it to maintain throughout the year. So I've seen a lot of performances, as you've been to conferences, and sometimes you just get in this thing where it's like choir after choir. This is just where I'm at in life, and it's fine. But it's like choir after choir of good singing, or maybe even excellent singing. But it doesn't really do anything to my soul. I'm at a point where I thrive off of these emotional choral experiences. They're my favorite experiences in the world. If I think back of the most influential performances I've ever seen or heard, there is this magnetic emotional element that comes from just being raw. It's that thing inside of you that says, what the heck is going on here? That's what I want to see. So then I think about it. How do I give this message of vulnerability to my students? I want my students, so I'm thinking about the ensemble that's at National ACDA. I want those students to go in front of thousands of choral directors and move them. In order to do that, they need to present something that's real and that's true and that's honest. How do we get now you just think about it, how do we get anyone in life to be vulnerable? There are things that have to happen. So my strategies are, for this year, is right off the bat, we're going to do a choir camp early. So I'm doing it with 3 ensembles. One is in the morning and 2 are in the afternoon, and then we're both coming together for a performance. So that's going to look like, so one choir, they're going to get in at 8:30, and they're going to rehearse until I think it's 12:30, And then for half hour, there's a lunch. Now, this lunch is going to be combined with the 2 other choirs that are going to happen later. They'll have lunch together, pizza probably. They have their pizza, and then first choir leaves. They go to their houses. I don't really care what they do, but they go. And then second 2 groups come. And the purpose of these retreats is not just to work on musical stuff, it's to work on the connection part of it. If you want to be vulnerable, you have to feel connected. I won't be vulnerable with Blake Richter unless I feel comfortable with him. I won't,
It's true.
But I feel comfortable with him, so I can do that. And he feels comfortable with me, he can be vulnerable. This happens every day. Thank God we're comfortable with each other, because there's a lot of vulnerability that happens, and a lot of vulnerability that happens in the classroom for sure.
A little too much.
Yeah, a little too much. We're very comfortable with each other.
Like whenever the kids voted on us to slow dance to heavy metal.
That was sweet
It
and
was
disturbing and
beautiful.
weird. Anyway.
It was funny. I think we were actually we weren't I've talked about this before. Like Danny and I have had moments, when you work together, you have moments of frustration.
He's always hogging the bed sheets. I'm just going for a joke. Just
That is,
keep moving. Move on, please.
We don't ever share a bed. This was like a day where we were kind of frustrated at each other, but the kids wanted it, and so we just sucked it up, and it actually kind of helped us.
I guess
unfrustrated
it was
with
weird.
each other.
It was weird, but I liked it. But so there needs to be that. It has to happen. Like if you want your students to be vulnerable, there needs to be a connection there.
And it starts with you.
Yes, exactly. And that's another element too. So the purpose of the retreat, they get comfortable with each other so they can do the things that are required of them to do. Singing is a very vulnerable situation.
Yeah.
It's part of you. It's not like an instrument where you can notice someone's embouchure or see the fingering positions. This is inside of you. You can't separate it. You need to get vulnerability out of students if you want them to sing well, if you want them to connect well. So from the students that happens, and also, getting to know the director at camp, and I think that should definitely be part of it. There should be a segment, see, we're coming up with ideas. There should be a segment where they're actually getting to know me more and things that they typically wouldn't know. I think
And it could be deep emotional things too.
Yeah, exactly. So modeling vulnerability to get vulnerability out of them. So I think that's something that I'm excited about doing this year, and doing that on a grander scale, because there's several choirs involved. And then at the end of it, I don't know if this is going to create vulnerability, but it's going to create something. There is the concert at the end where all 3 of the choirs that are participating will do this concert called the "Please Excuse Us, We Just Learned This Music Today" concert. and it's named that very obviously because they just learned that music today, and it could be a hot mess. But just getting themselves out there, getting that first experience under their belt, frequent performances will allow students to have that vulnerability when they perform. Because once you do it, you think, oh, that wasn't that bad. You do it again, and you do it again, and eventually you get them to that point. So creating opportunities to make students vulnerable. And this has to also do with, this is the reason why we do team building activities, right? In general, that's why we do that, so we can get kids to be looser and be willing to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so for my community goal, some of the things that we've done in the past, we're also going to try some new things. One thing that we've done in the past is we've done choir night at various sporting events. So we go and support our fellow football team members. We go and support volleyball. We go and support basketball, and we have choir night there. We don't wear choir shirts or anything. It's just a nice thing that we all get together, and we all it's an excuse to go out and support our friends that are on these different teams. And it also brings us closer together. It was super fun last year. They like seeing their teachers at this stuff. And so it forces us to go, because sometimes, when life gets busy, life gets crazy, we make excuses to not go to those games. Well, if you have choir night at the games, then you're going to be forced to go, because if you have choir night there and you're not there, that's kind of weird. And then one thing that we struggled with in the past, and I know a lot of choir programs struggle with this, sometimes people that are in the non-audition groups think that they are thought of as less than. And they are always just wanting to get into the advanced ensembles, or in our case, the varsity ensembles. So give each choir a special thing. whether that's this choir gets to perform at a Cardinals game. This choir gets to perform at the nursing home. This choir gets to perform at the mayor's Christmas tree lighting. Like, give them a thing that they get to do. The tenor bass choir gets to go caroling down the halls. Like, other choirs don't get to do that. And so that way, each choir is kind of like envious of the one thing that they get to do. I challenge you to maybe even give the non-audition choirs even more special things than some of the varsity groups. Like, I think this year we're going to take our non-audition treble ensembles and we're going to walk down the street to a nursing home and, get to serve our community that way. No other choir is going to get to do that. Is it going to be like the best singing ever? No, but to them, it's kids are there singing to them, and people are acknowledging them and they feel seen, and that's what's important. We're also going to try to do adopt a family or adopt a child or the angel tree this year to kind of give back to the community. And we have 300 plus kids in our choir program, so that's a lot of people who can bring in some things. And if you can't, that's fine too. Other people will as well. And then connecting the pieces of music that you are doing to helping and serving the community, whether that's your school community, your students, your staff, or whether that's going out in the community and doing some service project that connects to the text of your piece. I know this last year we did a piece called Where Go the Boats, and then we also did The Lighthouse by Andy Beck with our non-audition treble choirs. And the one that did Where Go the Boats, Lauren Bowman, she got online and went onto YouTube and figured out how to make like paper boats. And they all watched that video and they all made paper boats, and then they wrote inspirational messages on it. It was toward the end of the school year, so it was kind of like a nice inspirational message before they went on summer break. And they put them all throughout the school, so that way kids would just find them and either pick them up or at least see them and see those uplifting messages. And then the ones that did the Lighthouse, we found this black and white, you can color it in, lighthouse deal. So they were creating art together, but then they put inspirational messages on that as well, and then they posted those throughout the school. So giving back to either your school community, your staff, or the actual community through those different pieces is also important. So yeah, those are our goals. And, we have many more goals, but we could talk forever.
It would be a long time.
And it's already been a long episode, so we're going to stop talking about our different goals. But if you guys have specific goals that you'd like to share and
put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. We want to hear what you do. Actually, I was going to, as you were talking about, for instance, all the roles that you have in your classroom, I was like, man, I wish I could have that in writing, because I think that's definitely stuff I want to do too. So if you have those things, put it in the comments. We would love to hear what you're doing in the classroom. We would learn a lot from that personally.
Yeah, and shout out to the Choir Chronicles podcast with Clint Hardy.
We need to get Clint on here at some point
know, it'd
too.
Be fun.
Clint, we want you.
He made it to National ACDA this year with his middle school group.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
kind of amazing. That's Adrian Kirtley's feeder school.
Yes.
Right? What?
It does make sense.
Insane.
But Clint Hardy, they did a whole episode all about student leadership positions, and they just listed off all their different positions. I learned a lot from that. So we're actually adding more because of that podcast episode. But yeah, if you've got more, send them to us and we'll talk about them next time. Or we'll have you on to talk about it.
Boom.
Well, that wraps up this week's episode of the Choir Guys podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the Choir Guys channel on YouTube to be notified when new episodes are coming out. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Once again, the Choir Guys is brought to you by GIA Publications and Walton Music. Make sure to browse their website before programming music for your next concert.
You can follow the show on all social media at the Choir Guys Pod to catch bonus content throughout the week. Feel free to message us through these platforms. I couldn't keep it up. Feel free to message us through these platforms if you want to hear us talk about something specific on the show.
Also, tune in next time for a discussion on submitting your students for honor choirs and what to do if you are in this situation in being an honor choir clinician.
Oh yeah, thank you for tuning in to our season 2 premiere. We will see you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Dab.